Hello and welcome to Performance Check. My name is Rob and this is day 4 of the My 30-Day World Challenge in conjunction with this now successfully backed Kickstarter, A Dead Man's Guide to Dragon Grin by Absolute Tabletop. They've reached their goal, but now let's help them get to those stretch goals, and you can find all the details about that in the link below. Now, without further ado, let's get to the next question. Who is the most renowned hero in your world? Now, I've got to be honest with you, this question took me back a little bit. I realised that at the moment, there aren't really any heroes in my world. Other than the Lawkeepers, who are the protagonists of my campaign at the moment. Now, if you want to know more about them, you should just go and check out the Lawkeepers campaign on my channel, here at Performance Check, because there's very good examples about them being heroic. There's also a few examples of them being not as heroic as perhaps you might think or believe about the Lawkeepers and the stories that surround them. So it's very interesting. I like the idea of playing with the idea of what it takes to become a hero. Now, I want to talk about something else instead, because I realise at the moment, modern day in my setting, the Lawkeepers are essentially the bastions of what a hero should be, even if sometimes they stray from the mark every now and then, as interesting characters I want to do. Now, I'm going to take you back into the history of the Nine Kingdoms. It is shortly after the unification where the God King has united the Nine Kingdoms. However, Farwide is in open rebellion. I'm going to talk about a particular hero called Ivailo Artun. He is a king of Farwide. He is the king that defended Farwide against the encroaching armies of the God King in his attempt to unify the Nine Kingdoms. Now, later on, Farwide was able to become one of the Nine Kingdoms through an unsteady treaty that was in place right up until the opening chapters of the Lawkeepers campaign, where we see that come into jeopardy and then get completely thrown out the window, essentially. Now, the reason a treaty was put in place is because Farwide was never conquered. It couldn't be conquered because it's surrounded by a network of mountains and ravines and caverns. It's absolutely impossible to get an army in there, or nearly impossible anyway. There is one way into Farwide, and it is known as the Cloud March, a vast bridge built by the Elder races long, long ago. This is a huge bridge that juts through and above some mountains. It's absolutely colossal. It is one of the biggest structures within my setting. It's the only way in and the only way out of Farwide. And upon the Cloud March is where Ivailo Artun, king of Farwide, stood with his forces against the encroaching army of the God King. And there he mounted a desperate but successful defense against those that tried to claim his land. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, the only reason Farwide was able to do this, and the only reason why King Ivailo was able to do this, was because of the advantages he had geographically. If the armies of Farwide had met the armies of the God King in the open field, it wouldn't have lasted very long at all. Very, very hot gates-like, very, very last stand-like. They stood upon this bridge and made every spear, every sword, every mace, every axe, every shield count. No matter what they tried, the forces of the God King could not penetrate past the Cloud March. Impossible to take. And King Ivailo is regarded as a hero amongst the people of Farwide. He is part of the royal line, which extends to this very day, the Artun line. Yeah, he was really successful at doing what he did. He was a renowned king. But like all great heroes, they have a fall. It is said that one night, many years after his victory upon the Cloud March, banishing the forces of the God King back across the mountains, King Ivailo had a dream. A recurring dream. Every night he would see the same thing. He would claim that a beautiful woman was calling to him from across the land, beckoning him, to the point that he couldn't ignore it anymore, to the point that this voice was driving him almost insane. And without a word to his queen, without a word to his sons or daughters or any of the royal court, King Ivailo disappeared. He took his horse and he rode off into the distance and was never seen again, and no one knows why. And the people felt abandoned. Obviously, their great hero vanished. So some say that he went off to fight a greater war. that his services were required elsewhere, somewhere secret, somewhere unknown to the common folk of the lands. And some say that he just went mad and couldn't handle the pressure of ruling anymore. That his great victory on the Cloud March could never be matched by any other achievement he could make in his life. And he crumbled, went insane, and vanished into the night. So, that is the story of King Velu Artun, a renowned hero throughout Farwide and the Nine Kingdoms. I hope you enjoyed this. I certainly enjoyed talking about it. And I hope to catch you next time. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I hope that all of your performances are up to standard.